The Phantom of the Opera. I am sure you already have heard about The Phantom of the Opera, a novel written by Gaston Leroux, published in 1910. It does not matter if you have seen movies or the musicals, because something they all have in common is that these adaptations rarely depict Erik accurately. So, my issue, and many other people's, with these phantoms is that they are always handsome, always pretty, always beautiful, and even when you unmask them, they have only half the face deformed, even when in the novel it was depicted as a choleric man, literally called the Death's Head. But I have found an adaptation that, for me, in my opinion, made a great work depicting Erik with the resources it had. The Phantom of the Opera, 1925. This is a movie that is very old, for it is, I think, 101 years old, and this is a mute movie, which means there is no spoken dialogue, but rather small texts and hints that explain you the story alongside the images, the actors, and something that I very much liked of this adaptation was that they did Erik accurately with the resources they had, as I said. Because Erik here is not a hot, seductive hero Christian falls for. No, here he's, just as expected in the book, kind of a madman. He is not a ghost, but a dangerous man that takes advantage of Christine, the loss of her father, and the legend of the angel of music to isolate her and basically to keep her away from the people that could help her, like Raoul, and have her all for himself. And it is not only his evilness that it is good to expect here, but also his appearance. In the book, he is described as very, very thin. By the way, this is when Joseph Bouquet describes him after he saw him. He is described as very thin, his skin of a nasty yellow, his eyes so deep that you could not see his pupils that were yellow, but you saw two round black holes. And also, his face is described as that of the death, which could mean, and it means probably, that Erik, with all his deformities, looks like a cadaver, even though he is just a human that is alive. But that fuels the legend that he is a ghost, an otherly thing. His appearance is something that other adaptations fail to representate. Meanwhile, this version, while not 100% accurate because, it is obvious that you cannot make a real people something so specific, but in this movie, he was portrayed very well. His face was not that of a handsome young man. And also, another thing to consider is that Erik is in his 50s, while Raoul and Christine are in their 20s. 21 for Raoul and 20 for Christine, more specifically. And in this adaptation, yes, Erik looks like an old man, and Christine and Raoul are very young, just as they should look. And all the vibe of this phantom is of very much danger, as he should be, because he was a maniac in the novel. It was a long explanation, and I believe already most of you have read the novel and know what's going on, the context, the appearance of Erik, and how inaccurate he's portrayed in modern adaptations. So, let's go directly to the topic: the Phantom of the Opera of 1925 and the appearance of Erik. The first clear frames of Erik we can see is in this scene where he basically lures Christine in to go behind her mirror and to follow him. And we can see first his hand. At first, it might look like the other adaptations, but so we can see here, he looks nothing like the modern ones. He looks creepy. He looks like an old man who's obsessed with a young lady. Something that I think they got really well is his creepiness, because as we can see here, Christine sees that he is no normal man. Not only he lure her with the pretext of being the angel of music, but he is also strangely fixated on her, which, let's remember, she's in her 20s, exactly 20, I guess. And well, he is obsessed, as we can see here in the dialogues that appear in the movie, since, as I said, there is a mute movie. And well, Christine sees herself forced to go. She might not entirely distrust him, but it is weird already. When we can see Erik more clearly is in this scene, when he arrives with Christine to his lair. I'm sorry, English is not my first language, so I might get confused. Anyways, as I was saying, this is a scene where we can see, well, Erik at a full frame, how disturbing he is, how much of a creep he is, and no wonder how and why Christine looks at him like this. Very disturbed, very frightened, I would say even. Here, his mask covers all his face and even has a small veil to cover his mouth. This is very good, in my opinion, since how is depicted Erik in the book. This is, for me, a very good movie. Of course, the end is not the best. It is not great, in my opinion. This scene is one of my favorites, actually. Is when everything is revealed, at least in the appearance of Erik, and also in his nasty personality. As we can see here, Christine is curious. She's in her 20s, so that is normal for her. And well, Erik does not like very much being seen, neither his pieces to be seen. In the book this happens, since he doesn't even want Christine to see his pieces, and we can see here that it is almost the same, since he closes where he has his own Juan Triumphant, so Christine cannot see him. And this, of course, does not make Christine less curious, but it just fuels her curiosity, and as we can see here, she is about to get off the mask of Erik. Christine, just as Pandora in the myth, is about to commit something that it's gonna have terrible consequences on her. And we can see here the appearance of Erik. He is deformed, he is not young, he is not handsome just as the modern adaptations, but he is ugly. Visibly so, just as in the book, and Christine fears him. This is something I really liked, not only because it is faithful to the book and it's basically almost perfectly accurate, but because also it makes you feel what Christine feels. The fear, the dread, even the sense of being in danger, because such dangerous old man is obsessed with you, and now you made him mad, because well, you did not follow the rule that he gave to you. And well, this is something I like. Erik here is a very sadistic, very misogynistic, as we can see, and he's like this in the book because, well, he's a villain. He is not meant to be romanticized just as the modern adaptations has made us thought. He is horrible. He has crimes. He has committed unnameable things, horrible things, and literally attempt to, well, assassinate Raoul and Droga. Erik is cruel, just as he is supposed to be. He is not kind and was never meant to. He could be described as a classical villain, the mastermind, the misunderstood, the one society pushed away. Well, they kind of did. Of course, we are not going to justify Erik to say what he did was valid. Of course not. But it is true that because of his deformities, he was literally put in a circus. And yes, while of course we need to recognize what Erik did was nasty and criminal and horrible and even traumatizing for Raoul and Christian, who, let's remember, are two young people. But let us remember also that society kind of plays a role. Monsters are not born mentally, I believe so. And well, while of course no one is accountable for the actions of others, the environment does matter. And now that I realize this started as a mere aesthetic thing to say like, oh, why the 1925 movie has the best Erik, and this ended up in a little reflection of our society, how that shaped Erik, and yes, and well, I had no script. This is only my thoughts, and honestly, I think it is quite impossible for me to just analyze things superficially. Like, I needed to explain certain things, why they were important, and how they would reflect. I'm sorry if I deviated much from the theme of why this was the best Erik in my opinion, and you ended up listening to a little moral speech. Well, it is not even a moral speech, just quite of a social commentary. Anyways, I really enjoyed talking about this, about Erik, about this movie, about the book, about the morality. Yes. So, you may see this more often in my channel. This is mostly about the things I like, gothic things, literature, movies, music. Though it is probably gonna be more centered in the Phantom of the Opera and gothic literature things like The Picture of Dorian Gray or something like that. But yeah, expect a variety, but not too much. Bye.